Merci Dédé. Gomandong gumbo jambo yonglo chanzo Wande jinyen chenra nidara nando rosa Jinyen dengen jijin sije nijin dugar lebam zen kanda sip Chandora mare mendon dungai jizre Rozo kanla pochi dadze Yenlan juju yonezon Rudar chedro nyamon Deji jandro doze Mare nuze domai nungo Jimye junze raze Denen dajen sarju dazen Yenden nizo jese tuyo Chudan chudan chunyi jinje dalu Jambe yonlanje Marabazanande 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 o marabazanande de seden cheji chenawase Dalin dimon membarazane kadan genje shonlo tobai lode bobe nawai zartuzo desumone dan dijimore tanjimur janjanga gadinga majiba palo jinji jebe jindu jima megala vera de dengo zunga vajime ngone chansa jinja jo shiwane Tuji Jesu Zenzo Jensen Bezes and Uber to begin to say to Jidama, Venezuela, and Jidensum Jikonja Bay, Poem Bemoga and in Dale, Jensen and Member, Jerry Nando and Jim and Jim, and then Chomber Pema John and Dale in the Jin Boso Zalin Jenjo Jedi Longe Nanjam Shabji Dai Bombelon Lepo Beta Jetro, which is the Yonzemo Nibam Jambi Anji Dai Namanguru Nelha Bigans of Mishala Soa Lasundu Lamanchela Anjur Manjur Namri Taba Nyambesin Jen Hamje Namdo Dengi Dewala Nam Tewa Chimbe Shumo Yazi Chimbo Shiwali Zebi Anjusin Be Jebalan Jubatini Sushin the Sen Yamsulawan Yambe Sambashan Vitodu Debadan Chedesen Sao. So generate this awakened mind in this way, that start from one's dearest and that all motherly sentient beings, in order to lead them complete enlightenment. For that purpose, I'm going to listening this Mahayana Sutra composed by Shantideva, which is known as a way of Bodhisattva's life. And then I'm going to put into my day-to-day life practice. That's the awakened mind. And then based on that motivation, while you're listening to Dharma teachings, and then as Shakyamuni Buddha always reminding his disciple, especially when he gives some advice and teachings, that listen carefully in an excellent way, and then hold it, or memorized it, all those words and meaning within yourself. And this should be the conduct while you're listening to Dharma teachings. That motivation is done. Then after that, and make sure these three things, until we finish these teachings, that try to maintain that. Give full of your ear to word of the teaching, voice, and then they try to memorize and hold within your mind that the word and the meaning whatsoever you could. And then listen in an excellent way. Means try not to mix while you're listening, like those emotions. Just kind of like a focus one, contemplate one's kind of like a single pointed mind to teachers and the words of the teachings. And then the actual teaching here is the Bodhicharyavatara, the way of Bodhisattva's life. That it has a 10 chapter and 4 main subject or the theme. That first 3 chapters is for why it's important to have a bodhicitta, awakened mind within oneself, and then how one should prepare in order to get or in order to have within oneself, and then the actual ritual, that which action could be complete, that you can tell yourself, now I have it. That we completed within these 3 chapters. And then now this another 3 chapters, 4, 5, 6 chapters. These 3 chapters are now it is instructing or the guiding that the person who received this bodhisattva's power, and then in order to make sure not to transgress, not to lose, that what one should do it, and what makes you, that how can oneself understand that I didn't lost it, this bodhisattva's power or not. So that now these 3 chapters talking about that how one could understand that I didn't transgress, and then in order not to transgress, what we should do it. And then now that it begins with this 4th chapter here. And then rest of the 7th, 8th, 9th chapter is to how to not just maintain, but also how to develop this bodhisattva, bodhicitta, that increase or the enhance or the develop. And until what stage you reached, it is considered, okay, now you completely developed it. And then last chapter, dedicating the merit of this receiving bodhicitta, then maintaining bodhisattva as well, and then developing the bodhicitta's awakened mind further. And all this are kind of like a great meritorious actions, so that then last chapter is telling you to dedicate, how to dedicate it. That's simple, actually. And then now, 4th chapter, that which is now, it is telling us this one first stanza, that telling us that how to say, let me read this stanza. So which is in here, the chapter number 1st of the fourth chapter, the stanza number 1st of the 4th chapter. The children of the conqueror who have firmly grasped this bodhicitta should never turn aside from it, strive never to transgress its disciplines. Now, this one stanza actually tell us that it is now saying that the children of the conqueror who thus have firmly grasped this bodhicitta, that until the yesterday we completed this, that how to receive the bodhisattva's vow within oneself, and then the how to conclusion, the what do you call it? That joy, feel joy oneself and fill others to joy. With that ritual, and we complete it to receive this bodhisattva's vow. Therefore, it is saying, have firmly grasped this bodhicitta. In this way, we did it. Now, after we firmly grasp this bodhicitta, then should never turn aside from it. Should never turn aside from it, strive never to transgress its disciplines. Now, this is really telling us that what makes you, if one maintain all this discipline, that which is saying discipline, and that makes you, that you can tell yourself that I didn't transgress my bodhisattva's vow, which I just received. Right? Now, this is something that you need to listen. You need to listen based on you already received bodhisattva's vow. Now, after you receive bodhisattva's vow, how one can make sure that I maintain it, I didn't transgress it. That how you can tell yourself that still I have, after 1 day, after 2 days, after 1 year, after 10 years, that how you can tell yourself that I didn't transgress this Bodhisattva's vow which I received. So in this way, that Bodhisattva received this Bodhisattva's vow and then hold it in firmly. And from there, that constantly, continuously, that you have to, diligently and make sure yourself to not transgressing from its discipline. So now the discipline that yesterday I taught a little bit, that this Bodhisattva's discipline, it is talking about there are 3 types or 3 levels of disciplines, or the moral. As I said yesterday, the moral of the refrained from misdeed, and then the moral of the collect the virtuous, and then the moral of the moral of the benefiting beings, or the moral of the acting for the sake of others. These are the 3 moral that when you maintain, that will make sure that you didn't transgress your Bodhisattva's vow. And that also I told you yesterday, that these 3 things, that for person who practicing it, and they can practice step by step these 3 things. It is not necessary for person that who willing to practice this, maintain this Bodhisattva vow, has to jump and try to promise, commit yourself to all these 3 types of moral, 3 levels of moral. Not necessary. So the first, you can commit yourself that I will maintain, I will commit myself to not to not to transgress my Bodhisattva's vow by engaging into misdeed. The moral of refrain from misdeed. The misdeed. So the misdeed here now. Misdeed, again, it's that there are kind of like also this, within this misdeed also has a kind of like 3 types, 3 levels actually. But more or less here now, the what do you call it? The person who are really beginner, who are trying to maintain this Bodhisattva's vow, and to them, that kind of like we call this kind of like how can I say now? The lesser faculties. Lesser faculties. Now, can you call back out? Don't let it go in computer. No. Sorry. So, what do you call it? So the lesser faculties, they kind of like, how can we say, very beginner, that what precepts that they're giving, like Buddhas, those Bodhisattvas giving, is to maintain this aspiration Bodhisattva. Aspiration Bodhisattva.
He said he will just get on the Sanika college.
No, sorry. We have a lot of virus last time. I have very difficult to remove all these things. Ayo Lama Chen. Ah. So that one precepts, that person for the beginner, that they just giving this one precepts, that as long as you maintain this one precepts, that never, how can I say, sense of like regardless whatsoever reason you may have, but nevertheless not giving up the willing to benefit others. That's one, the aspiration of the Bodhisattva. That as long as you keep this willingness, even though you are not really acting it, you're not really doing it, but you just maintaining that sense of willingness or the kind of like a intention. That's one, how to say, keeping that one sense. It is kind of like it is considering as that you can tell yourself that I didn't transgress my bodhisattva's vow in that way. And then there's another precepts. Now let me tell you those another precepts. This, since it is talking about the discipline, that what you need to understand by this is discipline. There are 20 root downfall. There are 20 different actions when you engaged or when you occur, can I say? When you engaged into any of those 20 actions, and that makes you transgress the bodhisattva's vow. And those are actually, in one way, it is telling that these precepts is to those persons who are sharp faculties or who are more maintain bodhisattva. If one is not clear, that however, that needed, because that sense is the really kind of like a borderline, that whether person can call bodhisattvas or not. That's the very borderline. People who doesn't have even that willing, that sense, then it doesn't become bodhisattva at all. Very purification of borderline. And this is also that when I'm telling you now those 20 misdeed, right? 20 misdeed, which makes you transgress your bodhisattva's vow. And this is also one, as counted as a one. Another 19. There's another 19. And this one itself is considered as a one precepts, that if you maintain it, that makes you, that you can tell yourself, you don't need to ask anybody, and you can tell yourself that I maintained bodhisattva's vow. And then rest of other 19 misdeed, which also makes you to transgress these bodhisattva vows, are that it's saying the moral of refraining from misdeed, right? What are the misdeed that you need to refrain from? And these 19s are the 20, actually all 20s are the misdeed. From there, you need to refrain. And then what are those 19 now? That it begins with the those actions, those mistakes that start with the, it is categorized in three. Categorized in a three does not mean that, oh, these actions only could happen with those peoples. All of these actions could happen with anybody. But why they made it these three categories is because there's a more chances those mistakes could happen to those particular person. Therefore, they made it these three categories. But these three categories, making in these three categories also help us to easy to memorize too. If we just go like 19, 20, then yeah, it's a little bit hard to memorize. When you have some sort of like a category, first, second, third, and fourth, like that, then it is easy to memorize. Oh, first category has a 5 mistake. Second category has a 5 mistake. Third category has a 8 mistake. And then the fourth category, individual, one by one. Losing aspiration bodhisattva and losing application bodhisattva. That way you can memorize easily. But however, now, after you receive this bodhisattva, this is so important to understand, which really makes you that you can tell yourself, I didn't transgress it. How one can confidently say that? That as long as you are not engaging into any of these mistakes, then that makes you that not transgressed this bodhisattva's vow, which you received it already. As I told you earlier, now you need to listen this teaching based on assuming that you received bodhisattva vow. Now, in order to not to transgress or to not to lost, which I want to do. And these are the things that we need to understand. How one. And then now, four, that first categorize those 5 mistakes. It is saying that which is like those are the first five mistakes could, I would say, there's a more chance to happen to those persons who are and who are king and minister. You will gonna understand mistakes, that how it is easy to happen to them, not to local people. And then another category is like another category is those 5 mistakes. Actually, those 5 mistakes, but actually there's no 5 actually. There's only 1, but 5 differentiated based on object. Based on object. Therefore, we call this. Although we say this 5, but if you really understand, it is just 1 precepts, 1 mistake. And how differentiated 5? It based on object. The object to what you related your actions is. And those are the second categories, are saying the more chances to happen to those ministers. And then the third category, there are 8 mistakes. And these are the kind of like could happen more to our local people. And then the aspiration and application bodhisattva. But however, I already told you, it does not mean that it only can happen with them. No, this all misdeed could happen to everybody. Why this is this category in this way is to more chance, right? That's why. So the first category that which mistakes are more chances to happen with those kings are, it is saying the first mistake is Gwencho Kortok. Gwencho Kortok means that robbing the Triple James belongings. Robbing the Triple James belongings. Gwencho Kortok. That's one mistake. All three in one. That Gwencho Kortok, what it does mean now, that kind of like a with the force, right? With the force, and then taking out. For example, I can give you this example that from here now, if you rob these statues, this which is representing the Buddhas here, if you rob this from me forcefully, that makes you transgress your Bodhisattva vow. And likewise, but these are all with the kind of like emotion. It's also related with it. Emotion is also necessary there, out of kind of like a hatred or the anger. And these things could have a man, right? King. We can look back to the history. They robbed all these statues, which is representing Buddhas, and those auspicious statues. But fortunately, maybe they are not Bodhisattva. And there's no transgress Bodhisattva vow for them, right? But if you are Bodhisattva, then that makes you transgress your Bodhisattva vow. But even though it is great mistake for sure, it's not misdeed that transgress your Bodhisattva vow, but still it is great mistake. And then also like a robbing Dharma. And then also the robbing that person who offered for the Dharma. For example, we can give this example like that. Say, a from me. That's also like you are robbing some Dharma. And Dharma textbook itself is also considered there. But also the things, the wealth, which you provided for Dharmas. Robbing those things. Also that mistake action could transgress your Bodhisattva as well. And then to the Sangha, that also same way that somebody offered to the Sangha, that whatsoever. And then out of anger, hated, robbing those from the Sangha. That's why it's called Koncho Korto. First mistake is the robbing the Triple James belonging. That's the one mistake that could transgress your Bodhisattva as well. And then the second one is the Chöpong Le. Chöpong Le, in short, abandoning the Dharma. Action of abandoning the Dharma. Chöpong Le. And such as like this, that how we could understand this in clear way. It's like those, for example, those Tripitakas, right? Tripitakas, or the three baskets teachings of the Buddhas. And then the based on these three baskets and three precepts, right? Lavasum, that precepts of moral, precepts of samadhi, precepts of wisdom, right? And then you are thinking yourself, or you let other to do it. That these three Tripitakas and these three practice, right? Tripitakas shows us these three types of practice for the practitioner, right? And then now you are thinking that these Tripitakas and the three practice are not really the cause of liberation. That you holding that kind of things. You're thinking that way. And then also you're letting your friend to think that way. Either you do it or you let somebody to think about this and make them abandon the Dharma. And you yourself abandoning that these are not the method of providing us liberation and enlightenment. This is a little bit similar with the wrong view, but it is more like a chupongly abandoning Dharma. That misdeed, if you generate within yourself, and then if you let somebody to have it that same view, and that action, that misdeed, caused you to transgress your bodhisattva vow. Then third misdeed is then either that monk is maintaining his or her own morality or not, regardless, doesn't matter. As long as kind of like he's representing the Sangha, kind of like through rope, wearing rope, kind of. There are two types of Sangha, right? Sangha member. Either maintaining moral, or they have moral before, but somehow they didn't anymore. But still, they are wearing those all robes and kind of like saying like they are looks a monk. Either, in short, we can say either real monk or fake monk, regardless. To them through chal. And then to those objects you are giving punish. The person, as I told you earlier, you need to listen this all based on assume that I have bodhisattva's vow. Now, what misdeed could makes my bodhisattva's vow transgress? Either real or fake, that you are giving punishment. So these are all now, isn't it? It could more happen to those who are powerful men, like king, who have this power. They do these things. For us, it is not possible to punish other. Even if you try to punish, maybe they will defeat you. They will finish you before you finish them. Right? So anyhow, that's the third mistake. And then it is saying, so then Suja Tinju and Labebso, Lababeba means now if that monk is kind of like either real or fake, right? But not kind of like making shame among the person and then not letting him wear those robes. And then if the real monk and making them lose their moral, right? Making them lost their discipline. Lababeba. That together, one mistake. Either you give punished, or you through this punishing, you just making that monks to give up their robe and give up their moral discipline. And then fourth misdeed is the 5 heinous actions that normally we talk. Like killing one's father, or not just a statue, or also real Buddhas. Who knows that? Nobody can judge that, right? Buddhas are coming in many different forms. Even some of you may be Buddha. Not necessarily Buddha only comes in this kind of robe. That's true. Because the one quality of Buddha, it is saying Kangla Kangdul. Kangla Kangdul means that whichever way can train others, they will come accordance with it. Kangla Kangdul. That's the one quality of Buddha. They have this capability to manifest or come themselves, that whichever way can support and tame others, and they will come accordance with its form or accordance with its phenomena. So therefore, in short, regardless of Buddha, never throw blood to anybody. Excuse me. Or you're making them kind of like a come out blood by making wound, right? Beat and hit to them, and then let make wound, and then let come out those blood. That misdeed. This is considering as a heinous misdeed, heinous action, one of the heinous action. And then separating the Sangha member and dividing the Sangha member. That everybody has to care for. Everybody. Those powerful men could do this more effectively, yes. Those kings can do these actions, very effectively. But this action can do by anybody. And as long as you engage into this kind of actions, devise or that separated Sangha member, that's very heinous action. It also makes you transgress your bodhisattva as well. These things only could happen within a practitioner. Yeah, no practitioner, there's no Sangha. So no Sangha, who to separate? Where Dharma is flourishing, where Sangha is participating, there this action could happen. So which means those persons who is considering themselves as a Dharma practitioner or Sangha, same Dharma practitioner or Sangha, could care about this, have to care about this. Uncautiously, it could occur this to oneself. So if this kind of actions, if you did it, then yes, these actions makes you transgress your bodhisattva as well. So all these 5 action in one action now. Killing father action, mother action, killing arahat action, and then the wounding Buddhas, or the out of anger throwing the blood, or separating the Sangha members. This happens in Dharma centers, right? Yes, absolutely. This is only could happen to those dharma centers, because if there's no dharma, this action is not related. This action is out of topic now. We don't need to talk about if there's no dharma. If there's no dharma practitioner, then this is kind of non-exist. This action is non-exist. Where dharma is exist, where dharma practitioner is exist, and that makes this action exist. So we need to be careful that. And those are the 5 misdeeds who, after took this bodhisattva's vow, if engage into any of these 5 misdeeds, it makes you to transgress your bodhisattva's vow. Then you cannot say that I maintain bodhisattva's vow anymore. The second category actually are here, that one action, one precepts actually, but the 5, it differentiated into 5 based on object. That it is saying, though these misdeed, which could really big chance to happen to those ministers, are like this, that out of anger, yeah, the action which is derived by anger and hated, and then the actual action is the destroying the house, destroying somebody's house, kind of like through fire or through whatsoever, through hiring bulldozer, through hiring something big machine, mighty machine, whatsoever, you destroy it. For example, like this, you destroyed this house out of your anger. If you destroy this without out of anger, then no problem. It should be out of anger. But this is very tricky. Who do that? Why do that? Either you destroy the tong. Tong means kind of like a one family, where reside the one family house, tong. And then the jong. Jong means that where has 4 different types of people. Let's say this Toronto is multicultural and multi people. So for sure, this Toronto is already there. Jong means that where 4 different 4 different people gathering, staying, resident. 4 different people, type of people. Let's say, for example, like Asian, American, Europe, and Africa. Those 4 different types of people staying in this village. That where have those 4 different types of people residing, that's called Jong. And destroying that village, kind of like a village. This is kind of like a village. And then Tongkir. Tongkir means actually now that town, kind of like a town, where house, village, town, city, country. It is like that. House, village, town, city, country. Maybe it's better. Or province. Province or country. Tongkir means the town that it becomes town. I don't know that now in here, this Canada, that what kind of land at the, how can I say? Have many, and then Tongdal cite many businessmen. Now this is Toronto, city of Toronto, like that. Many businessmen reside here. And then Yunkur, kind of like a province or country. Anyhow, so these are the 5 objects that out of your anger, if you destroyed them through whatsoever you're utilizing the method. Then when you complete this action, that's considered as a misdeed, that which transgress your bodhisattva's vow, if you have a bodhisattva vow. And then again, there's no more that, not anymore that you can say that I maintain bodhisattva's vow. These are the 5. Actually, there are also this these are all count as a one action. And then plus adding the same 4 misdeed, which is more chance to occur to king, adding on those 5. And these are the 5 misdeed could happen to, more chance to happen to those ministers. I don't want to make you complicated, so just keep it that. This is it. And then there are another 3rd category, that 8 misdeed. If Bodhisattva engage into any of those actions and could make transgress their vow, which are Majang Tongyin Jungin and Tenmen. That it is saying Majang Tongyin Jungin without training and not proper train, and then you kind of like trying to teaching those high teachings, like the emptiness and pure perception could also include there. But however, directly in this word is involved this emptiness. That person who didn't train well to be able to digest this emptiness teaching. And if you try to teach this emptiness, and then by hearing those emptiness teaching, and that teachings makes them nonsense, and then they give up the Mahayana path, and then they return back to the path of, if you did this mistake, being a bodhisattva, actually now that not without training well, it's like that, we can say like that, becoming condition for that persons to give up the mind. And that misdeed could transgress your bodhisattva's vow. That's the one misdeed among the 8. And then Majang Tongyin Jungin. Majang Tongyin Jungin. Zogjang Childong, Tengmen Semketa. That somebody who are kind of like who have this feeling and interest to practice this Mahayana path and to practice this Bodhisattva's way of life, which is really cause to achieve enlightenment. But somehow you are encouraging them, that's telling these unnecessary things, that, oh, this is so difficult, you may better cautious. And rather than that, it's good for you if you enter into Theravada path. And then you're making them give up again. You're making them giving up the Mahayana path through teaching something very emptiness, or the person who not really interest maybe in emptiness, but who have an interest in this bodhisattvas, bodhicitta, that awakened mind, to train and practice bodhisattvas, a way of life. And then you are encouraging them, it is difficult, you may not be able to do this practice. So therefore, I think rather than you practice Theravada path, self-liberation, and then you make them give up. That mistake also could transgress your bodhisattva's vow. And then Sotarpane Techin Lovadams. And again same way, opposite now. Sotarpane Techin Lovadam means that person who have willing and interest to practice the Theravada path and then keep this Theravada vow. Naturally, that person has this interest. And then now you are going there and you are making them kind of like saying that, oh, you know, this is lesser path. And this doesn't really help you. You better to practice Mahayana path. Unreasonably, you are letting them giving up that interest, that which he have to practice Theravada path. To practice Mahayana path, giving up Theravada path is not necessary. And then especially giving up this kind of like a Partimoksha vow, it's unnecessary. You can practice Mahayana path based on a Partimoksha vow too. And that is considering even better if you practice Mahayana path based on a Partimoksha vow. And even within a Partimoksha vow, lay vow, novice vow, fully ordained vow. And those fully ordained vow is considering as the greatest kind of like, how can I say, greatest with having this fully ordained vow and practicing Mahayana and so on, it's greatest. That could give effect and more, much more than practicing Mahayana path based on a novice vow. And then the practicing Mahayana vow path based on a lay vow. But however, these are now comparing with each other, then that's better. But it does not mean that, oh, based on a lay vow, then it is not useful. It is not like that. It is still very much useful. But however, unnecessarily, you are letting them give up that interest to practice this novice vow, and then lay vow, and then fully ordained vow, and then the Theravada path. That person has interest, and you are now breaking his interest, his or her interest, to practice this Theravada path. And you are letting that person to Sotarpane, Tekchen Lobata, and same way. That could also happen to within us, okay? We need to be careful that. Because we are kind of like so much habituated by looking best. I need best. I need the best of the best, whatever I could obtain, whatever I could achieve. It does not mean that you cannot aim that, but that you can remain in here and again go up there. Kind of like a renunciation. That sense needed even in a bodhisattva's practice. Without renunciation, genuine bodhicitta is also difficult. Okay, so that's the third state, that if bodhisattva engage into this kind of actions, then that actions makes bodhisattvas to transgress their bodhisattva path. And then Sotargone Tekshin Lovan. The fourth one, that a person who is practicing this Theravada path, and then you are telling them this Theravada path doesn't really have a method to get rid of your afflictive emotions and desire and hatred and so on, those 5 poisons. That this Theravada path doesn't have this method to free yourself from this, and then letting them. And then you are making them to not able to achieve this result of Theravada path, Arahat, which is Arahat. And before he had this cause to achieve this result, Arahat, because he had this renunciation and he's practicing this Theravada path. And then now you are making him to lost the result Arahat, which really he or she could achieve by keep maintaining that her or his practice of Theravada path. But however, telling this Theravada path doesn't have a method to free yourself from the 5 poison, it's lie. Theravada path has this method because it's already proved by those what do you call it? Those Shariputra and Moggallana and so on. They proved that. They're practicing Theravada path. And there are many like that. But somehow, however, now telling that is a lie. And then lying in this way and letting that person give up as well. Fifth misdeed is out of jealousy. Out of jealousy, in short, it is like out of jealousy, praising oneself and surrender other. Praising oneself and slander other out of jealousy. And then sometimes they really describe in that object out of kind of like out of jealousy, praising oneself and slandering other, that other should be the bodhisattvas. They're saying that. But I think it's better to mention with everybody. Again here, who knows that this person is Bodhisattva or not? There's no certificate for that. It's all within your mind. Therefore, that unnecessary, that praising oneself and surrendering others out of jealousy. And that also sometimes they describe that and that also like regardless that whether that other person who is you to whom you're surrendering that reason of your surrender, it's truth or not truth, doesn't matter. That's also okay. Whether surrendering other out of jealousy, okay, it should be out of jealousy. If it is not out of jealousy, then it's free. Out of jealousy, and if your action of surrendering other, it's came out of jealousy, then that surrender, whether you have a stumble, she makes
Slandering.
slandering out of okay, and out of compassion, that's different now. That's completely changed the story. It has to be out of jealousy. And the action which is action surrender which is out of jealousy, then that action, whether you have a good reason or not good reason, doesn't matter. As long as you surrender others out of jealousy, that makes you to transgress your bodhisattva's power. And then praising yourself. And this praising yourself is saying that praising yourself in a kind of like a great lie, actually. It is saying like a great lie, which means actually similar mistake. Some sort of like you are telling, okay, anyway, okay, because I am first Bhumi achieved bodhisattvas, even you are not. I am arhat, I am realized emptiness. In this way, you are praising yourself. If it is true, then no. But that still has to come out of jealousy. That jealousy that which you make other down and then you push yourself up. That action, if you engage into this mistake, could transgress your bodhisattva's power. And then the sixth one. Sixth mistake, which is now this is kind of like it should be the out of desire, out of greed, out of attachment, that this action. But action is very similar with the previous one. Previous action has to come out of jealousy. Now these actions more or less come out of desire directly. Actually, the action which comes out of jealousy, desire will gonna involve there. More or less, desire will gonna involve there. Because you have this desire, greed, therefore you're jealous. And the sixth mistake is that first to gain something, physical and mental pleasant, or gain some materials or wealth whatsoever. To obtain physical and mental pleasure, or the materials, wealth, financial, and so forth. That's the one. That's the purpose. And then also the another purpose either or that kurti means that to gain some respect from other, and gain serve from other to you, and looking that she will gonna honor me. Then out of that purpose, to obtain some physical or mental pleasure, or to wealth, materials, or to gain some honor, respect, or service whatsoever. Out of that intention, and then it is saying, you're selling yourself. You are selling, you are exchanging yourself to this temporarily obtain an honor. And then same way, again, you are kind of like saying this great lie. Again, same way, that I realize emptiness, and I am genuine bodhisattva, and I am real practitioners, and so on, whatsoever, with the purpose of gaining these two things. If you don't have gaining of these two things, maybe it's not a big problem. Yeah. Again, more or less, we will not going to do if we don't have these two purposes. Why we need to do this? So if you engage into this sixth mistake, and that also transgress one's bodhisattva's vow, then no more you can say that I maintain bodhisattva's vow. Which means all the benefit which we talked in the first chapter, you lost the opportunity to gain all these things. And then seventh misdeed is Gelon Chepe Junyu Subuldang. Gelon Chepe Junyu Subuldang, it's that you are, how can I say? You are letting somebody to give punish to bhikshu or bhikshuni. And then also that bhikshu or bhikshuni, in order to free them from this punishment, and they steal some triple gems belonging, and then offer to them, please forgive me. And then you're taking it. Either you're taking it or you're giving to that person to excuse her punishment. That way both lose bodhisattva vow. If the other is bodhisattva, other bhikshu is bodhisattva. But however, you are letting some buddy, kind of like let's say like a police officer or minister or whosoever, and letting them give some punishment to bhikshu. That itself, when you did it, and then that caused transgress the bodhisattva law. And also now, but you skipped it punishment. But now this is tricky here. We need to understand this. Why it is saying this? The one way is he giving punishment, right? Now other way, that bhikshu brings some triple gems belongings, things, money, whatsoever, and then give it to them to excuse his punishment. So which means you are not really punishing to him now. But why you are not punishing is because you gave this under table. It is kind of like under table, right? So when that person got at this under table, and although you didn't punish that bhikshu, but how you excuse this bhikshu's punishment is through this under table action, under table whatsoever. I don't know what to say. Subul. Actually, this is called subul. Huh?
Bribery.
Bribery. Bribery. What is a bribery?
A bribe is when you give somebody money to do something.
To excuse something.
Yeah, to do something. They're going to do something bad, like a politician. You want them to pass a particular bill, so you give them money, and they do it for you, even though.
Yeah. That's why now here, either you punish this bhikshu, or you didn't punish because of you get this bribery. Either way, it could transgress your bodhisattva's vow. Clear? That's the 7th misdeed. And then the 8th misdeed, last one. This one is a little tricky. I always have this difficulty how to. The 8th misdeed is and now this last one. Means that you, bodhisattva, and you are kind of like a, let's say some sort of like a, some sort of like a, let's say, Dan, for example. Dan gave me some money. Or for example, Kim, you gave me some money for the small troopers, right? And then now, that money, it belongs to those troopers already. Whether I passed that already or not doesn't matter. This money is not belong to me. This money belongs to those small troopers. So, excuse me. Ayo. So, now it's saying like that that the person, the practitioner who is kind of like a practicing meditation, right? Throughout of meditation, they are trying to subdue and reduce their emotions, right? And then on the other hand, some other people, practitioner, and just kind of like a reading lots of prayers and so on, like this, reading texts and so on. Reading texts, prayers, sadhanas, and whatsoever. Actually, those sadhanas itself is actually meditation. But however, okay, reading these scriptures books, prayers. And then now, actually, offer this money to me to offer to those who are kind of like who are meditating to subdue their emotions. And then that money, that out of my judge, now I'm making judge here. I'm making judge, or maybe they are doing nothing. Because you didn't see anything that they are doing nothing. Yeah, it just seems like they are doing nothing. They're just sitting and meditating. You won't be able to see anything. And then the other hand, you will be able to see reading, prayers, blah, blah, blah. And then you making this judge out of this outlook. And then, oh, maybe I offer this to them, not to this meditator. Or you're doing something to give up some meditators meditation, shamatha meditation. Even you are doing something to give up those meditators to meditate shamatha meditation. You're not letting them meditate. Kind of like, now this is tricky here. That's why I'm saying this one. Last mistake is little tricky here. That normally we make this mistake, right? We see, oh, this practitioner or reading so loud and always keeps with the books. Oh, now that's the right person to me to offer. And person who is empty hand, just meditating, you're not thinking that I should offer. But however, actually it has to become like this. Money, that wealth belongs to those who are meditating to subjugate or reduce their emotion. That actually came offered this for that purpose. And then out of that outlooking, then I'm making judge. I'm unnecessarily making judge in the beginning. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is not right person, and then I should offer to heartily. So this is little, which means now that the wealth to whomever belongs, without judge, you just give. It's not your money anymore. Just give whoever belongs this wealth. You don't need to make judge here. But we make judge. This is also, we could make mistake. And then very tricky things is, some people are giving in a very general way now, saying this is often now, just offer to the monk without judging. We could also make like better to offer to that monk, better to not offer to this monk. That kind of general confusion also people could make, right? If people say, oh, this give to specific name, monk name, let's say, okay, Kim, can you pass this money to Tugudawa? Then no problem, right? You can just come in. And if somebody come to you and give some money, offer, and then Kim, can you pass this to monks? Then what? And you better to ask, who monk? Tell me who monk. And then you are doing something to others to give up their meditation, shamatha meditation. And that also could becomes misdeed, to transgress one's bodhisattva's vow. And then that's finished this third category with the 8 misdeed. And then the last category is the losing aspiration bodhisattva. Right? As I told you earlier, the aspiration bodhisattva means that without any conditions, that keep maintaining this willingness to achieve enlightenment for the sake of other beings and never giving up to benefit others, whether you could right now or not. Doesn't matter, but keep maintaining that sense, willingness. And then 20 misdeed is misdeed is losing that. Even for the one person, okay, let's say for example, somebody harmed me in a very bad way. And then you're thinking, okay, now I'm done. I will never gonna help and support to him or her. You lost. And that really moment you lost Bodhisattva's power. And that is actually very root of the Bodhisattva's power, actually. As I told you earlier, this is the very borderline which makes you bodhisattvas or not. If you don't have this one, even though you're not engaging into all this 18 misdeed, you're gone. And then application, losing this application bodhisattva. Application bodhisattva is kind of like a commitment that I will gonna cultivate all these causes of enlightenment, which is really now practicing this 4 immeasurable and 6 pranjna paramitas. Actually, now this becomes like a moral of, what do you say? Wait. Moral of collecting the virtues. Moral of collecting the virtues. What do you say? Moral of gathering virtues, dharma. That you are committing yourself to maintain this moral to gather the virtues, dharma. So these are as long as you are engaging into these actions, and that's you go. And as long as you have this sense of commitment that regardless whether I could right now or not, I will gonna practice this all. But practicing at the moment one doesn't disturb you to not having the willingness to practice others. Okay, for example, right now, this moment, these situations allow you to practice generosity, and then you're practicing generosity. It doesn't disturbs. It doesn't make problem that you have only willingness to practice this generosity. That you need to know that you also still that you have this commitment to practice the morality, patience, diligence, meditations, wisdoms, and 4 immeasurables, and so on. Committing oneself to are we going to cultivate this cause of enlightenment. Actually, aspirations is the looking its result, and application is the committing on its cause. But as I already told you and earlier, that if oneself is kind of like a beginner of practicing this bodhisattva's way of life, then one can practice with this first precepts, only 1 precepts. You try to maintain that. And these kind of like a meditating 4 immeasurable helps you to maintain this. People who meditating for immeasurables, like meditating upon loving kindness, meditating upon compassion, meditating upon joy, meditating upon equanimity. It helps you to build this aspiration bodhisattva within oneself. It also not just build, it also helps oneself to maintain this aspiration bodhisattva. Okay, so this is what now here it is talking about, this first stanza, that should never turn aside from it, strive never to transgress its disciplines. So after receive this bodhisattva vow, and if you not engage into any of these mistakes, then that you can say yourself confidently that I didn't transgress it. Bodhisattva's vow. After you understand all this, then you can just feel happy yourself. Which means now the whatsoever Shantideva introduced the benefit in first chapter, you are still achieving it. Those. And this is also important that I always telling you this. This awakened mind is really antidote for the selfishness, actually. It is direct antidote. It is opposite, exactly opposite. These two mental states can be stay together. And this is the also method to reduce and get rid of selfishness too, which is some sort of like in Buddhism practice, very principle to get removed. This is the main thing that we should try to remove, right? Because this is the all source of problem. And mind directly with the self-centered attitude. That's how now I think you can tell yourself that whether I am maintaining Bodhisattva's vow or not. Okay? And this is what it is talking about, this moral of refraining from misdeed. If you not engage into any of those misdeed, you are refraining from misdeed, which means, which tells you that you didn't transgress it. And then next, and then you try to engage with this moral of gathering the virtuous dharma. And then moral of benefit beings, or the moral of, what do you call it? Moral of acting for the sake of others. That way you can progress your Bodhisattva's way of life practice. Okay, so maybe today just leave it here. Yeah, if you have a question, we can discuss. Yeah.
So we're talking about bodhisattva and the necessary conduct of a bodhisattva. What responsibility do individuals have in terms of their own development, their own lives? Is bodhisattvas supposed to help them in any way possible? But what responsibility does the individual have in their own development?
Yes, Jennifer. Practicing to support other and help others, that action itself is developing yourself. Indirectly, you're benefiting yourself. This is the way that those Buddha found it. why that's a mistake. Right? They always think in a different way. We normal people think in this way, they think this way. And this way, you can achieve what you really want. Not in this way. Because this way, so far, so many people tried it, failed it. There's no one proof in this world. But trying in this way, benefiting oneself, so many proofs. Starting from Shakyamuni Buddha himself, how he benefited himself. By constantly maintaining this practice. But that is the view different now. They have completely different view. And then they work based on that view. And they will say regardless. And we also say that too, Jennifer. We are work in this view, and then we also say regardless, are we gonna keep it this? I'm gonna keep it myself centered. Or no way that I have to give up this. If I give up, then I will lose so many things. That's how we feel, and that's how we kind of like tell ourselves, oh no, regardless, I will not want to do this. And same way, they also say, they keep in a different view, and then they will work based on that view, and they will also say regardless. And we also say, we keep this view, and we work based on this view, and we also say regardless, I will gonna keep it this. Same. But keeping in this way, somebody success in this world, and keeping in this way, does somebody success in this world? No, that we need to check. Then we need to look those history. History tell us. And then logically also tell us if you really contemplate. As I told you earlier, that logically it makes sense that this mental attitude and the self-centered attitude is completely different, completely opposite. Which means that problem which is created by self-centered attitude, it's not going to create it by this mental state. This mental state will going to create some consequences different way. And that different way, that then we need to check that whether we like to have that consequence or not. Okay, I will go home. Oh, and today the Bodhicharyavatara brought it lunch. Everybody has a lunch, okay? Bodhicharyavatara, she brought it some, I think, Vietnamese food. Okay, now we dedicate. Sunam de Hamje Zivani, Omne Nebe Draman Hamje, Chegana Chivalo, Tupai, Civis Gole, Doa, Show, Jambal Kari, Chitarakan, Kundo Sambo, Dehan Dejinde, the Dakunji, Jesu Baloji, Gewan, the Dakunji, Rakomo, Gewan, De Yeshio, Sunam Yeshi, Sunam Yeshi, Lechonwe, Tamba. Sanje gözüm ne bejinlandan, şeni minjur dem bejinlandan, gendim miçe dem bejinlandan, jetara moa şu Read in English. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By the conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyam, and in the same way as Sanandabhadra, Kundu Sambho, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all beings perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, sonam, and wisdom, virtue, and may they thereafter obtain the two holy bodies, which result from these two accumulations. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sangye, who obtained three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chuni, by the blessing of the infallible aspirations of the Sangha, Genmin, may this prayer of dedications be accomplished just as it is. Thank you.
Out.